Tell them that it is this party, this government, that has abolished expensive and intrusive identity cards, smashed the ID database and restored our civil liberties. We are the ones.
Για τη νέα ταυτότητα, όπου θα έχει πάνω το τσιπάκι που θα μπορεί να βάλεις εκεί μέσα ό,τι θέλεις.
Θα έχουμε έναν αριθμό.
Λοιπόν, και τον Οκτώβριο με Νοέμβριο θα έχουμε το λεγόμενο Μητρό Πολιτών.
Λοιπόν,
που σημαίνει με βάση αυτό το Μητρό θα μπορούν να διασυνδεθούν όλες οι βάσεις δεδομένων του δημοσίου.
How much do you think the government knows about you? Quite enough, I would say. People applying for passports already submit personal details and get a witness to vouch for them. But under the proposed ID card scheme, the government will start collecting massive amounts of information about each and every one of us. Where you ever lived, where you were born, your PIN number, and eventually even your fingerprints. We'll have to queue up outside registration centres to be checked. They'll look at details of our bank and mortgage accounts, and then we'll have to pay through the nose for the privilege. No wonder the more people know about this scheme, the less they like it.
I've never really been in favour of ID cards. Mainly I used to live in Italy, and there were many police checks on the streets, in cafes and restaurants, and I found it quite threatening.
The government just wants to know where everyone is and what everyone's getting up to and who's who and immigration and this, that. And I don't think it's got anything to do with terrorism at all.
Well, I think it's a kind of good idea, but I think they're just going to charge loads of money for it.
I would probably lose mine in the first week, so it's expensive and no point really.
And talking of identity, oh, I say, little girl, who are you?
Peggy Clark.
Can you prove it?
Yes, I've got my identity card.
She has an O.
Britain had ID cards during the Second World War. Winston Churchill scrapped them because they weren't needed anymore. Now Gordon Brown wants to bring all that back. It might be worth it, some might say, if it stopped terrorism. But it won't. The terrorists who bombed the main station in Madrid all had valid Spanish ID cards. The 9/11 bombers had valid papers too. The child benefit scandal has made it crystal clear that government can't be trusted with our personal information. In fact, this government's lost more of our private data than any government in history. Your information is simply not safe in their hands. The projected cost of ID cards, surprise, surprise, keeps going up. They told us it would cost £1.3 billion. But the latest estimate for the whole scheme is £7.5 billion. If we spent that money on extra police, we'd have far more impact on crime and terrorism. This wasteful scheme is an outrage. I've promised to do everything I can to stop it. I personally will refuse to put my details on the register, even if that means going to court. By acting together, we can stop this government from forcing us to give them precious personal information about each and every one of us, information which fraudsters are gagging to get their hands on. Well, I've just come out of this studio behind me, which is where all the television and radio studios are in the Westminster Village, and I've been grilled on endless programmes, local radio, national radio and all the rest of it, to justify what I've said today, which, yeah, I accept is controversial, but I believe very strongly is right, which is this, that I think that if the government moves to make ID cards, or more precisely, to make the obligation to surrender information to the ID card database obligatory on everybody for the first time in British history during the course of the next Parliament, in all conscience, I won't be able to do that, and I will be prepared to go to court. There's a great tradition of resistance on this issue in our party. I think the ID card database, on top of all the other databases that the government has already rolled out, will unalterably change the balance of power between my privacy, my rights, my freedom, and the rights and prerogatives and powers of the state.